hello, and welcome to the episode of Todd Talks and Todd Talks. People listen, rare, people listen, hopefully. Today, yes, this is a genuine smile on my face, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we are talking about an episode I honestly never thought we would get. An episode I am so happy we are getting, and I am doing this preview 2 days before my birthday, so this is an early birthday present to me. Again, genuine smile. We are talking about Scooby-Doo versus Courage the Cowardly Dog. We're doing this. We are so doing this. I saw the preview. It is good, and yeah, I have oh, the fun we are going to have. Oh, the fun we are going to have. So this episode is going to take a while. I mean, this could be the longest episode of Todd Talk because of all the stuff I need to talk about. So I'm just going to take my time. I'm going to do it right. And I guess I'll just try and figure out who the winner is at the end. Because, alright, so let's start off with Scooby-Doo. No, I'm not feeling that. No, let's change it up. Let's do a little bit of a callback. What do you say? Scooby-Dooby-Doo, where are you? We got some work to do now. Scooby-Dooby-Doo, where are you? We need some help from you now. You know we got a mystery to solve. Scooby-Doo, get ready for your act. Don't hold back. And it's Scooby-Doo, if you come through, we're gonna have yourself a Scooby snack. That's a fact. Scooby-Dooby-Doo, here are you? You're ready and you're willing. If we can count on you, Scooby-Doo, I know we'll catch that villain. Yes, I did grow up in that era. I am that old. You're welcome. So yes, Scoobert-Doo, yes, Scoobert-Doo, was raised by his mommy and daddy Doo in Doosville, and eventually was adopted by the Rogers family, headed, of course, by Shaggy, not head of the family, but, you know, his owner, Norval Shaggy Rogers, where they eventually went to Coolsville or Crystal Cove and wherever else, and they have been, as part of Mystery Inc. and various other groups, I will get to that, have traveled around the world, yes, world, to solve mysteries, big, small, regular, supernatural, horrifying, and reality warping. And yes, I will get to that as well. So where to start? Well, Scooby is, at his core, a dog. Except when he's not, because apparently in some versions he's an alien? I must have missed out on those series. Just saying. But yes, 9 times out of 10 he's a dog. 8 times out of 10 he's a dog. I got him thrown with Scooby Apocalypse, but Scooby Apocalypse will not be a part of my rundown. Okay, just saying that's it. That is way different for various reasons. If you've never read that comic, but Scooby-Doo is a dog who has incredible abilities, and he gets to show that all the gosh dang time as he goes upon his mysteries, whether it's as a pup named Scooby-Doo, or as part of Mystery Inc., again, the other groups. Now, one thing we gotta establish right off the bat is that the misconception about Scooby, especially in the context of this death battle, is that Courage, Cowardly Dog, constantly fights the supernatural, the monstrous, the mythical, the godly, and Scooby does not. That is technically true depending on the series or movie you're watching. A lot of people like to reference Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, which is a great movie with great soundtrack. Oh, can we just admit that Scooby totally wins in the soundtrack department? I'm sorry. Not sorry, racist. Happy Halloween, everybody. It was yesterday, but still. But a lot of people like to refer to that one as the movie where it's like, oh, this is the one where the monsters are real. Well, no, he's faced lots of supernatural monsters throughout his life. For example, if you want to look at movies and series before Zombie Island came out, which I meant to look up the date of, I'm sorry, he was facing ghosts and other supernatural entities in the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, where he teamed up with Vincent Price. Yes, the Vincent Price, you're welcome. Scooby-Doo and the Boo Brothers, Scooby-Doo and the Ghoul School, Scooby-Doo and the Reluctant Werewolf, and so on and so forth. And then eventually he became more, in the modern age, I should say, he became more adept at facing the actual monsters of the universe, including aliens, even though he fell in love with one. More on that later. He faced witches in The Witch's Ghost. He faced the cyber monster in Scooby-Doo in this Cyber Chase. Cyber Chase. Well, that was a good one too. And so on and so forth. Now, I didn't even count the live-action movies, the video games, the comic books, the crossovers, which I will get to, and so on and so forth. So, for the record, Scooby-Doo has faced just about everything under the sun, and possibly even the sun, I'm sure, at one point. He's had that robust of a history. He was born in 1969, and he has been doing his thing ever since. He's got a series right now going on in Scooby-Doo and Guess Who, where he does all sorts of crossovers with every single celebrity and superhero under the sun. That's owned by Warner Brothers and can be brought into for the show. So he's still going, all right? So his adventures are almost limitless. Heck, he just had a movie come out with, wait for it, Crypto the Super Dog. So he's got a lot going for him. Now, yes, Scooby-Doo isn't emphatically a coward. Him and Shaggy, zoinks, are two of the biggest cowards of the group, and yet they're still with Mr. Ink. Like, that can't be short-sold, right? These two are constantly going around with Fred and Velma and Daphne and so on and so forth to, solve mysteries, endure all sorts of crap, and even though they hate being the bait, they do it because they know it's the right thing to do, even though it sometimes takes a lot of encouragement, aka Scooby Snacks. Ruby Rex. I've practiced my Shaggy and Scooby quite a bit, including for my niece Vivian, who really likes it. That's how we bonded when she was younger. She liked my Scooby voice. So, jumping to the good stuff, if you will. Scooby is his own master of Toon Force, and if you go back to Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? Again, which is, let's see, it's 2023 right now, so it's 54 years ago, you'll see insane examples of Toon Force that just defy all manner of logic and reason, and it only gets wackier as you go on. Alright, case in point. There was one episode where Scooby and Shaggy were going into this upside down room, like it was an intentional upside down room. And Shaggy's like, "Oinks, oinks, man, we're on the wrong side of the room." And so what do? They crawl on the ceiling, they crawl up it, and go upside down, and easily sit in the upside down table set, and gravity just doesn't affect them. They just sit there and just do nothing. They just sit there, and then a monster shows up and looks for them and leaves, and then they crawl right back down. So gravity manipulation, right off the bat. That's the first feat I'm talking about. He has been squished, squashed. He has his own version of the magic satchel. Not as much as Courage. I'll get to him eventually, obviously. But he's been squished, squashed, bashed. He's pulled stuff out of nowhere. He does have a magic satchel. I want to make that clear. And he has been Toon Forced in ways you wouldn't expect, including a personal fan favorite when Shaggy and Scooby were trying to get away from a monster. Shaggy mounted Scooby. Ew, it's gross. Stupid Zarban. And he actually revved up his ears and turned Scooby into a motorcycle to run away. And it was just his Scooby's legs going so fast they were basically going motorcycle speed. Okay, that's nuts. And again, it only gets weirder and wackier from there. He has defied gravity constant times. You know the comedy cartoon gag of running in place in the air and then shooting off? That's what Scooby and Shaggy are the masters of that. They'll happily look down. They'll fly over let's say they'll fly over a ledge. They'll fly over the ledge, look down, realize that they're over a big space, and then they'll just right out. Or they'll be on a standstill on the ground, then they'll jump up, run in the air, Toon Force is nothing to these guys. This is what they do, alright? And when you consider some of the other wacky stuff they've done across all of their series, it only gets wackier from there. And it's a beautiful thing. I love Scooby-Doo. This is a fun fact. The reason I love this so much is because Scooby-Doo means so much to me as both as a child, a teen, and as an adult. By that I mean, when I was young, I grew up on Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? And 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, and a pup named Scooby-Doo. And then when I was in my teen state, which feels so long ago, I had a pizza place that rented movies, and they would have these movies like you get 5 for $5, and I would rent on certain weekends like a whole bunch of Scooby movies, like Werewolf, Boo Brothers, Ghoul School, all of them, and I would just watch them over and over and over again. I would get batched episodes of Puppet Named Scooby-Doo and just watch them over and over again. I love Scooby-Doo, and then I watched What's New Scooby-Doo, and Mystery Incorporated. I never got to finish it, as I would eventually find out today. I never got to finish it, and even though I did eventually trail off just because of timing and schedule, I don't know where to find some of the cartoons. He's still a big part of my life. Like, I remember getting excited for the live action movie. Watched the first one, not the second one. Curse you, James Gunn. I have issues with James Gunn. Let's just be honest here. But I remember watching the live action movie, and like I was so mad at Be Cool Scooby-Doo because the designs were just horrible. I remember playing one of the video games when I was younger. Scooby just means a lot to me, and I really enjoy him, and he's such a fun character. He really, really is. And I actually took offense to one thing that they said in the preview, and they might correct it later on. But in the Scooby-Doo preview, they said that the only motivation for Scooby is Scooby Snacks, and that's not actually true. Scooby is incredibly loyal to the Scooby Gang, no matter what incarnation it is, and he has willingly risked his life to save them multiple times without Scooby Snacks being involved. A great example is when they were doing the Ghost Clown episode, and the Ghost Clown kept hypnotizing people. Scooby went out of his way to save everybody from their hypnotic states because they were performing incredibly dangerous acts. He didn't have no Scooby Snacks at the time. It was just him going ruh-roh and racing to go and save them. Another one is in Scooby-Doo and the Alien Invaders when Shaggy and Scooby fell in love with Crystal and Amber. So groovy, just us two, so groovy. Don't forget Scooby-Doo. Such a good movie. Seriously, the soundtracks of Scooby's stuff, can't be topped. But they were in danger. Crystal and Amber were in danger from the government MPs, and they were like, we gotta save the girls, Scoob. And so they hopped on, I think it was like I can't remember what it was, and Scooby grabbed a pole lance-wise and happily tried to impale the MP's ride so that they could go save Crystal and Amber. And again, without a single Scooby Snack, because they had love for them and they wanted to protect them. And Scooby, again, has shown that over the course of the series. So it's not just Scooby Snacks that gets him going. He will do things if he knows that someone he cares about is in danger. And that's what makes him so cool. But beyond that, his biggest asset, ironically, is indeed the Scooby Snacks. Because when he has a Scooby Snack, whether it's as a pup or as an adult, it does wonders, all right? And he can go super Toon Force when he has the Scooby Snacks. Case in point, in a pup named Scooby-Doo, which is a great series. Okay, I saw someone say it was a deep cut. It's a prequel series. It ain't a deep cut, all right? And everything is the same except the slight personalities and the cartoon style. And it has Casey Kasem as Shaggy, so that makes it canon, all right? Yeah. But this is the city, Coolsville, USA. Zoinks. I really like they can do a good Shaggy. I really hope you're enjoying this because I really am. But in a pup named Scooby-Doo, every time Scooby gets a Scooby Snack, he is able to Toon Force his body to do just about anything, including turn into a rocket, go up into space, explode, and then go right into Shaggy or Daphne's arms or whoever is nearby. So, and in fact, in that series is arguably his most impressive feats of entire destruction not mattering to him. In multiple episodes, he shattered himself like glass. Shattered like glass. He has melted to get away from Ghost. He has had his skeleton pop out of his body and scream, then go back into his body, which should not happen. He ran so fast, he left his head in the same place he was at. So again, gravity manipulation did not matter to him. And then he had to race back, grab the head, and go off. He once hit, I thank you for Death Bell Discord for this one, he once hid inside Shaggy's head. As in, he was so scared, he went to Shaggy, literally pulled his head open, jumped in his head, closed it, and Shaggy kept running for a good 10 seconds before looking up and go, would you get out of there? And Scooby eventually opened the head back up and left, unwillingly at times. But yeah, his Scooby snacks are insane, and this doesn't even count Scooby-Doo Get a Clue, which I have a screenshot about, ladies and gentlemen. Um, so in Scooby-Doo Get a Clue, which I admit I did not watch as a kid, it was I think the first Scooby series. I didn't watch them Be Cool happen. I definitely didn't watch that. But in that one, he actually had not genetically altered. He had nanotechnology Scooby snacks, and I took a picture of this so I could see some of the stuff that it did. And this doesn't count everything, I'm pretty sure. But when he had these special nanotechnology Scooby snacks, which were left to him by a professor of all things, he could have, among other things, invisibility, duplication, super strength, super speed, giant robot form, morphing, I guess like shapeshifting, flight, shields, turning into a dolphin, okay, elasticity, he already has that, but still, getting super smart, that could be helpful, and hyperspeed. Now, this on its own doesn't really mean much, right? Because, as we all know, it's all relative to the episodes. And again, I have not seen all these episodes. It's one of the lesser liked Scooby series, and that was actually the first one without Casey Kasem. But he was in the series, but not the voice of Shaggy. So yes, still can. So, but what, thanks again to Death Bell Discord, there is one of those hyperspeed Scooby snacks was fast enough to let Scooby go beyond the speed of light and actually travel back in time on his own. Yeah. So yeah, Scooby is a time traveler, and he did it multiple times in a single episode. So that is not only canon, that is repeatable, and he can do it on his own. Now, a big question I know a lot of people have had is, will Scooby have access to Scooby snacks? Because most times he is getting it from Shaggy, from Fred, from Velma, from Daphne, yada yada yada. Yes, he will have Scooby snacks for the very simple reason that there are multiple times when he pulls out the Scooby snacks on his own, including in a key episode of Scooby-Doo Where Are You? Shaggy is trying to get them away on stilts, just roll with it, and Scooby reaches behind his back, magic satchel style, and pulls out a box of Scooby snacks, and he feeds it to himself and Shaggy, and they get away at hyperspeed, because why not? And so if he can do that once, he can do that a bunch more times, and I'm sure across the series he has that, including that one Get a Clue Scooby-Doo episode. He just pulled out a bag of Scooby snacks and ate it and then traveled back in time. So yeah, when it comes to Scooby, he is absolutely incredible, and he's one of my favorite characters of all time. And if I was to ever have kids, I would find a way to get all these shows so that I could educate them on the greatness of Scooby-Doo. Now, what is his weakness? Well, obviously he's a coward. He is such a coward. He can be scared of almost anything at any time. And yet he overcomes things just like a certain cowardly dog. And that makes him great. But he does have limitations, obviously. He is intelligent, but he can be gullible. He is intelligent, but he can be tricked. He can also get a little too confident in his abilities at times. It's very rare, but still. And like in Alien Invaders, he once thought that they scared off the MPs with fake kung fu, and they tried to do it again because hey, we got this, and they were totally wrecked. But it happens. So like in another dog's case, his Toon Force can be a bit inconsistent, but he is still one of the best cartoon dogs. He is the former president of Cartoon Network. That is canon. Look it up. And he has proven himself time and time again against all sorts of things, including reality warping entities, which I will get to. I'm saving it for later. But yeah. So Scooby-Doo, where are you? Right here, Raggy. All right. So now we're going to get to our next contestant. We enter this program to bring you Courage, the Cowardly Dog Show, starring Courage, the Cowardly Dog. Abandoned as a pup, he was found by Muriel, who lives in the middle of nowhere with her husband, Eustace Bag. But strange things keep happening in the middle of nowhere. It's up to Courage to save his new home. Shh, you stupid dog! You made me look bad. Fun fact. This episode is this Todd Talk preview is arguably the longest research I have ever done for a series before, or for an episode before. Why? Because I decided I'm going to binge Courage the Cowardly Dog. While I didn't get through the whole series, I'm about halfway through season 3 right now. I only started on Saturday. I did get to watch a lot of it, and First of all, how the heck did we get away with this in the 2000s? There is so much stuff that kids should not see, and yet it's, yeah, okay? Like, seriously. And if you look it up, it's on Max right now. If you look it up, they put Courage the Cowardly Dog under comedy. That is not a comedy show. That is a kids' human rights violation. Okay? So, pretty much the intro that I beautifully recreated, you're welcome, established the essence of what Courage is. Courage is a cowardly dog who was abandoned as a pup. He did meet his parents, though. I didn't get to that episode yet. It's found by Muriel, the very kind-souled yet dim-witted Scottish woman of Nowhere. By the way, Nowhere is in Kansas. I did not know that. I did not remember that. And yet it says very specifically that Nowhere is in Kansas. Anyway. But he's found by Muriel, who loves him dearly, and not unlike the beagle he is very attached to Muriel. And when things just keep happening in Nowhere, he's the one who has to save the day, because no one else is going to do it. Or more times than not, they're not going to do it. So what makes Courage so courageous? Well, it's really complicated, because technically he's not courageous. He really just works through the fear, which is what I know what they say, like, courage is not having fear. It's the ability to work through the fear. But he's still a super cowardly dog. I mean, we all know the scream, that he does, oh, that kind of stuff. And I'm really having fun with this episode. This is great. I don't get to act out this much. This is nice. Genuine smile. So, but he loves Muriel, keyword here, Muriel, so much that he's willing to go to the ends of the earth and universe at times to go and save her, and he's proven that in 2 adventures in every episode. That's something I actually forgot. This was the olden days of Cartoon Network, where they had bite-sized episodes, so they would do 2 adventures in 1 episode instead of 1 throughout 1, which means that technically he has had over 100 adventures technically, and 1 Scooby-Doo crossover movie. Never got to watch it, but I've heard it was good. And no, that does not directly affect this death battle. Kind of like Terminator, RoboCop. But yeah, so he's the one who always has to save the day in the middle of nowhere, and he has faced some horrifying things that, again, how was this a kid's show? How did I get to watch this when I was a child? Did my parents seriously just not notice the monsters and horrifying acts that was going on to not just Courage, but Muriel and Eustace? I mean, if we're being completely honest here, technically Eustace is the one who has the best death battle feats in Courage the Cowardly Dog, because he has survived all sorts of crap, even more than Courage has, but that's another preview episode. So what is immediately clear is that Courage is a master of Toon Force in his own right. There are some restrictions, which I will get to, but he's willing to do, he can do just about anything he needs to try and get out of the situation that he is in. And as you saw in the Death Battle preview, he can build things. He has a magic satchel to a much greater extent than Scooby. I'm not afraid to say that. He's got everything from bombs to welders to books to fans to I'm blanking. Oh, laser gun. The laser gun from the chicken episode. That was the cartoon episode, not the actual Courage episode. Though that chicken did come back. The chicken came back. The chickens always come back. And so on and so forth. So he can pull out just about anything he needs. Not that it always works the way he's intended. A common gag in Courage is that he'll need to do something, and he'll pull something out of the magic satchel. And even though it works as it should, like, say, a welder exuding fire, a bomb blowing up, or whatever, there are times when it just won't work. Like in a classic episode with Cats, I'm Cats. Cats have the best music. Like Cats, he had music that overrode the main music. I always thought that was hilarious. Courage was tied up by Eustace on a leash to a post, and a giant spider, which is my nightmare, was coming at him. And Courage was trying everything to try and destroy this leash, and it didn't work until he actually used his teeth, which makes no sense because the leash shouldn't have been that strong. Which also could say that the teeth could do what the other stuff couldn't. So make of that what you will. But he is willing to build things. He can disguise himself. His talking is weird because there are times when he emphatically sounds like a dog, and yet other times that humans can fully understand him. I never quite got how that worked, because there are times when he does this shape shifting, and I'm really having fun. This is great. But he does that stuff, and they can understand him at times, and then other times he's just like he's just just don't get what he's saying, and it's hilarious and sad at the same time. But so they call that inconsistent. But throughout his adventures in nowhere and beyond, he has been put through the ringer more times than you can imagine. That is arguably his greatest feat. It's not his magic satchel. It's not his intelligence, because he has limits. I mean, in the preview, they spelled out clearly that he always goes and asks help for his computer. You twit. I love that computer. I'm sorry, like it's so British. It's, oh, you're having trouble with a bomb, huh? I suggest you just don't go any hack. It's just like, what is this computer? Like, again, this is like 2000, before like we had like super advanced computers and everything, and it's like, ah, okay, don't have to be so testy. Seriously, I'm enjoying like flexing my voice acting skills. Hire me, Death Battle. I should have been the voice of Stutz. Oh no, I'll run up the Stutz. Or Punch Bunny. But he uses his computer to get information, and he can do things on his own. Like, technically speaking, through his adventures, he is a licensed therapist. Kid you not. He is a ordained minister. He married a Valkyrie to a troll. This is real. He has been recruited by NASA, or the space agency, to go and restart the sun, which literally just had a light bulb change, because of course it did. He has been in a gladiator fight. He has apparently pedaled a vehicle so fast it went on light speed, which I didn't get to that episode, but I did see the clip, so that happened. And he is just so endurant like, going back to the greatest feat thing, he is so endurant he could take just about anything and keep going. Like, that is the biggest thing that Courage as a show notes, is that Courage gets beat up all the gosh dang time. Okay? Like, I'm not even joking here. Courage gets pummeled, whacked, bruised, beaten, bloody, blown up, burned, incinerated, electrocuted, eviscerated, mugged, tied up. It's insane, and he always comes back for more, because that's what Muriel needs, and Eustace to a lesser extent. Can we just establish here that more than cats, I'm cats. More than le quoi, qu'est-ce que c'est? More than the evil barber, naughty, and all these other villains that Courage has faced, Eustace is the real villain. Okay, Eustace is abusive. He doesn't really care for Muriel. He is greedy as heck. He only cares about himself. He wants money. If the only thing he likes more than himself is money, is because he pictures himself with money. All right, he's like, I'm rich. That's for me. What did I do? You did everything, Eustace. You're a monster. What does Muriel see in him? But Courage just keeps coming back for more, and it doesn't matter how scared he is. Even though at times he does hesitate. Like, I gotta be clear on this. Everyone thinks, like, oh, he'll do anything for Muriel. He will, but he also, like, sometimes hesitates. He'll see a danger, and he's like, I don't really know what to do. And then he'll have to raise up the things I do for love, and all that stuff. But, he does have a limit on his courage, but more times than not, he will keep going. And arguably one of his greatest weaknesses is that he is a bit too possessive of Muriel. In multiple episodes, he is angry at anyone who might get too close to her that he thinks is bad, even if they're not. Like, for example, there was the raccoon episode where the raccoons kidnapped Muriel because they wanted a mother, and Courage didn't like it because he's like, she's my mom. Very Courage way. And he won their respect in the end, but that was one thing. Another thing is that, and this gets misinterpreted a lot too, especially after I noticed as I watched our minute binge, Courage doesn't really fight people. He does on occasion. Like a classic clip is the when he went to China, which I believe was in season 4. I haven't gotten that far, sorry. And he beat a empress in a kung fu match because he just happened to be in China, which is not racist at all. Also, do we want to talk about the incredibly non-politically correct interpretation of an Asian character? Watch where you're going, you fool! Doesn't age well. Doesn't age well at all. John W. Dilworth, do better. Also, that guy directed every episode of Courage the Cowardly Dog. That is my hero right there. But outside of very specific circumstances, he doesn't really fight anybody. Like, he uses the situation to his advantage. He will dupe people, not unlike Scooby-Doo. And, like when the fox was trying, not Cat's, Fox, was trying to get Muriel for Cajun stew, they did a classic Looney Tunes gag of, like, I take Muriel, go this far, you take Muriel, go this far, and, like, they kept, like, one-upping each other to try and, get away, and it was hilarious, but he didn't really fight the fox, he just kept tricking him, and that is a key thing that would help Courage more times than not. But if you really look, like, 9 out of every 10 fights, he doesn't technically win, he just outlasts or outsmarts, and things keep happening that help him in the end. For example, when he kept facing Le Quack, the first time he just lasted long enough until the police got there to help him and arrest him. Same thing with the second time with Le Quack. Qu'est-ce que c'est? And how annoying. Fun fact, I remembered so much about Courage, even though I haven't watched it in decades. Like, I remembered Cats, I remembered Le Quack, I remember the Barber, I remembered certain other things. The quilt where Muriel is literally, like, woven into the quilt as part of the Quilt Club. I remembered that one. And so on and so forth. Oh, the Magical Tree of Nowhere, one of my favorite episodes. That's a good one. But even with all of that, he still has power that just rivals anything you can imagine. Even though it is dreadfully inconsistent. Not unlike Scooby in a smaller way. Like, Courage has incredible amounts of Toon Force, and yet at times he either can't use it or doesn't use it. Case in point, in the Magical Tree of Nowhere, he did the I shatter the sun feat. Alright? The tree got chopped down, and he ran out into the gorge, and he shouted, and the sun shattered like glass. And it's like the all-time favorite feat that everyone likes to say for Courage's power. He broke the sun at a distance. But he never uses that against his enemies. He used it once against his enemies, which was another episode I sadly missed, which is when all his enemies came together, and he apparently shouted so much that he cracked the ground, and it caved in on them. Impressive, but yeah, he can crack the sun, and yet he can't shatter people right in front of him. Doesn't that kind of ring as weird? Is that just me? I don't know. So, his power is dreadfully inconsistent, but it works for him. And again, he can either build whatever he needs, he can research whatever he needs, and he can endure whatever comes at him. And so, if you're coming after Muriel, or technically Eustace, or anyone else he cares about, he might not have a lot of courage, but doggone it, he will get the job done. Well, 33 minutes I haven't even gotten to my comparison. So, who wins? Oh, this is going to be a long episode. Who wins between Scooby-Doo and Courage the Cowardly Dog? Ugh. Okay, so this is weird because this could legit be a tie episode. And I mean that. I'm not saying that's going to happen because just something feels off about this in general. But here's the thing. If I was to pick, I would pick Scooby-Doo. And here's why. While Courage repeatedly uses Toon Force in a way that is more insane and aggressive, he has survived on the surface of the sun. He broke the sun. He piloted a ship to be light speed somehow. And so on and so forth. Scooby has decades of comics, shows, movies, cartoon, and live action, where he has done so much stuff that even with those feats, I don't think that Courage can hurt him. Like, everyone keeps saying, oh, he'll just scream and turn him to glass. In a pup named Scooby-Doo, Scooby turned himself to glass, and he just kept going. Or he melted himself. And he kept going. And yes, Courage has done the same thing. He has melted. He melted in one episode. He turned himself into aerosol spray to get into a vent. He unscrewed his head. He's unscrewed his head multiple times. Again, this is a kid's show. And so this is the craziness, because they both have Toon Force. And by the laws of Toon Force, if you're a Squish character, you technically can't die. So how the heck are they supposed to kill each other? And I mean, this is something that they actually didn't address in the Death Battle cast episode, which I rewatched before this preview video. And Liam never directly said how Courage could kill Scooby, mainly because Nick wasn't as prepared as I was, and didn't know about his resistance and Toon Force feats in as a whole. He only cited like Scooby-Doo, Where Are You, and certain other things. And yes, he's got the DC Comics crossovers, which potentially scale him up to Superman if you believe the X-Kryptonite theory. I did not see that one. And yes, X-Kryptonite can give Superman powers to people. Just check out the Superman Lois series season 1. It was good. I like this series, even though the season 3 finale was just weird in so many ways. Hey, let's turn Bizarro into Doomsday. No one's gonna freak out about that. So if he scales as Superman, that just completely changes the whole balance of power even more. Now, in terms of overall strength, I would definitely say Courage has the advantage, because of he just does a lot more. Like, he lifts things on the regular. He in one episode, he literally couldn't break the chains that was holding him to a tree, so he just lifted the tree right out of the ground. I'm talking like 100-foot like oak tree. All right, he just lifted it out of the ground and then carried it. He walked it for a while until he eventually slightly fell off a cliff. Scooby has certain strength feats, but I don't think to my knowledge, he hasn't had anything like that, unless he directly scales to Krypto or Superman. Again, I never watched the Krypto movie either, but I heard it was good. So, strength-wise, Courage definitely has an advantage, I would imagine. But how is he going to hurt Scooby when Scooby can be melted, be smashed, be crashed, be smushed, and just right there? And yes, Courage can do the same thing, so now you see my problem. One thing I did notice, and this is actually something that Liam got incorrect during the Death Battle cast, is that there are multiple times when Courage would change his body, he would change his body into something and would be fine, but when someone else changed his body, he would not. Where I'm at my binge, there have been 4 cases where Courage has been transformed into something that he could not get out of on his own. He was turned into a fly. He intentionally went into one of Katz's machines to get turned into a helicopter. He got turned into a gumdrop by Katz, and he was turned into a kangaroo monster. That was not an intentional thing. It was intentional because he had to have a bone transplant, but yeah, he had to have a bone put into his body to become a kangaroo monster, and then he had to have the bone removed to not become the kangaroo monster. So if Scooby has something that could actually transmutate Courage, that could be something that leaves him vulnerable to a kill shot. I don't know what that would be, though. And while I don't know if Scooby has been disintegrated, which Courage has, and Eustace has, and Muriel, I think, has once, I don't know if that would kill him. And I don't know if that would affect him. Plus, there's the feat I've been holding kind of in reserve, which is the evil entity. In Mystery Incorporated, they went from dealing with just people in masks to dealing with the actual evil entity that affected their entire universe on a scale that, with the evil entity destroyed, it rewrote reality. And Scooby was the one who dealt the kill shot to the evil entity by destroying a sacred relic or whatever. That was a dimensional portal and whatever. And not only was Mystery Inc. in its entirety able to resist a black hole sucking them in, but when the universe basically exploded on itself and had a reset, all 5 of them were fine, and they could remember the past reality. That's right. And then they had the Mr. E, as he was known, reveal to them that they were able to remember it because they were able to slip through the realities being changed. And he only knew it because of his attuneness to the universe because of various timeline resets, which is, I guess, an implication of how many times the Scooby-Doo timeline has reset. So, and he only said that they could do it because they were strange. So, technically speaking, Scooby-Doo has resisted reality warping because the entire universe exploded. It was an explosion that reset the universe, and they were fine, and they remembered everything that happened in the past before that battle with the evil entity. And also, to discount the whole, Scooby's not brave thing, he rallied against the evil entity without a single Scooby snack. So don't get me wrong, I don't know how Scooby is going to kill Courage, and technically I don't know how Courage would kill Scooby either. But with decades of stuff at his disposal, including stuff I know I could not get to, like there was like a Necronomicon in a game that Scooby has he could suck monsters into. I guess that would catch Courage. I don't know. But with their two Toon Forces colliding with one another, it might come down to a battle of experience and cleverness and who can do what first. And Scooby can go back in time. Scooby can resist reality warping. So even if Courage could turn him into something, he could technically resist it. Mind control. Oh yeah, forgot about one thing. I know many of you are waiting for this. The God Bone. The God Bone would not work on Scooby-Doo. Okay, I am tired of hearing people say the God Bone would work on Scooby-Doo. If Death Battle says the God Bone works on Scooby-Doo, I am going to be so furious, okay? The God Bone would not work on Scooby-Doo. The God Bone in the episode states, do not start licking this bone because if you do, you will lick it for the rest of your life because it's not good. Except Courage resisted the dog bone first. Then his tongue was the one that started acting on its own. Then Courage was able to release the bone through tickling and tie it up, and then he never had to lick it again, which does not make sense at all. And then later on, the dog Duncan, who was the Storm Goddess's dog, was able to resist the dog bone because he was so angry that Courage was getting friendly with his master. So that's 3 different instances of a dog resisting the God bone, and I know that Scooby-Doo has more willpower than Courage the Cowardly Dog. Alright? Not to mention, he would just eat the dang bone. There are clips of him eating bones, not to mention devouring entire foods whole, including bones, just because he could. Alright? So that's not an issue. And I'm not saying he would eat Courage the Cowardly Dog to win. I'm not sure that would work because of how Courage works, okay? Or it doesn't work. Who knows anymore? But yeah, this is crazy, and so that's why I'm saying this could be a tie. This absolutely could be a tie, and if it is a tie, I am going to declare a victory for myself. But if I have to pick somebody, I'm picking Scooby-Doo because he has more things, I feel, within his arsenal across his entire history that there will be something that can defeat Courage once and for all. Versus Courage really only having his scream and his magic satchel, and I don't think anything with that scream or magic satchel can put down Scooby-Doo for good. Meh. Rare. And with that, 42 minutes. Wow, this was a long one. I'm ending this episode of Todd Talk. Who do you think is going to win between Courage the Cowardly Dog and Scooby-Doo? Let me know in the comments below. So, I thank you for watching this whole thing. If you made it this far, I really know you were listening. And I'll just see you around.